Hi there, it's Tamara Doris, your Sacramento real estate professional who specializes in downsizing and your Sacramento real estate professor. So I was thinking the other day, I was actually in a conversation with someone because I live in Carmichael, and in Carmichael we have many retirement communities, we have Eschaton, we have many assisted living facilities, and so it was just a natural progression that I started working with people downsizing. And so there's a credential called Senior Residential Real Estate Specialist. And I worked for the California Association of Realtors when we were putting that together. And so I studied the material quite well. And it's really funny because back then, one of the things that it taught is seniors don't get online. So you really have to do one-on-one, in person. And what's so funny is my own mother was on Facebook at age 80. So things have progressed and evolved. But seniors I'm a senior, like I'm technically a senior, so whatever. We're still on Facebook. We might be on Instagram. We know what's up. We can get online and we can see what our home is worth. But one of the other things that I think qualifies me the best to help with downsizers, and I'm going to clarify what a downsizer is, but I sold my mother's house. She's 80. I sold my mother-in-law's house. She went into an assisted living facility. She was 95. 94. My grandmother, I sold her house, and these are all within the same, where I live in the Carmichael and 95821 area. I sold my grandmother's house when she went into a senior facility, not even assisted living yet, which was, she was 95, I think, maybe 96. So I have a lot of experience working with these people, but when I say these people, I mean people who are downsizing. But let's look at what downsizing is, because I also have clients who are very active, who are selling a home because they lost a loved one, or they're now a widow and they don't want to take care of that big home. So there's a lot of times when you downsize and it doesn't necessarily equate seniors. And that's what the conversation was about. Someone said, "Oh, you work with old people?" And I was really offended by that because I'm a senior, right? I'm like, first of all, seniors aren't necessarily old people. And second of all, downsizers are not necessarily seniors, right? If someone, I listed a home the other day for someone who is having a probate, and she's only 30 years old, but her mother had died. And so that house is something that they don't want to live in it. So I consider that downsizing. I also consider it downsizing if you're leaving the state of California, like you're not going to use this house anymore. So downsizing is kind of code for I'm not going to use this house, I'm not going to live in it anymore, or I'm not going to live in it at all. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're downsizing because you're an empty nester, but that's also another type of person who downsizes. So what do you need to know if you're a downsizing person in the Sacramento or Carmichael area specifically? And that is that you want to make sure you watch what the housing market is doing. Now, right now, it's gone from, and we're in 2026, right? The early stages of fall, things typically slow down. Why? Because a lot of people with kids, so we're talking a younger population, want to make sure that they're settled before the school year starts. But we have changes in that. One of the changes are people are having children later. A lot more people are homeschooling. So for every rhyme and reason in real estate, there's always an exception and there's always an evolution and cycles over time. But traditionally speaking, when you get to the end of August like we are now, things slow down. Now what I'm noticing is listings are sitting on the market a lot longer than they were before. So it's not unusual. I mentor other real estate agents in my office and outside of my office, but there's a lot of agents who are saying, "Gosh, I've had these 3 listings and they're not selling." So don't complain to me about it. Get out there and sell them. And there's a lot of ways that we can do that. We can do reverse marketing. We can write letters to buyers. We can do a lot of things to get that property sold. But if you are in the area where you're going to be downsizing or just selling your home, you need to understand what the market's doing. So this is where you want to come to channels like this, or you want to get on, do Google searches, do other YouTube searches, find out what's going on in the market. Is right now a good time to sell? One of the things that I tell my clients, my prospective sellers, is if you are not dead set on selling right now, and you have an interest rate of like 3 or 4%, don't go. wait, because the interest rate is not going to get that, that good if you're moving somewhere else. But listen, if you are downsizing, that savings in interest rate might not be appealing to you. Like if I take a family who is just thinking about buying up, they might buy a bigger house or whatever, and they have a 3%. And so there's this internal struggle. Do we keep the 3% interest rate on our current home loan, or do we throw it away and then have a 6%? That's a different conversation. That's typically not my seller. My seller is someone who, we got to sell this house. We're either going into a senior facility, we're going into assisted living, someone passed away, I just got divorced, whatever it is, they're downsizing, and that's what I consider it, but they're moving out of that house. Interest rate doesn't matter because the compensation is not even worth it. You may have a 3% interest rate, but if you're paying $500 a month in PG&E, $300 a month in SMUD, and they may be backwards depending on where you live, but you know what I'm talking about. Very expensive in California. And you're paying for pool maintenance and landscaping. All of a sudden, that 3% isn't as appealing as it is when you consider all the extra things you're paying for. And that's really what I work with, is helping people get out of a house, whether they want to buy a smaller house or go to a senior community, or maybe they want to rent. But usually it's not to buy a bigger house. Now, and I'm not saying I would turn anyone down. I'm just saying what my specialization is. So any real estate agents who tell you, I serve the greater Sacramento area and I take care of anyone, I will help a buyer or a seller, I will help someone that's moving, wants to move up, someone who wants to move down, anything. That's not a specialist. And so be very, very careful when you're considering downsizing in Sacramento, or no matter what you're doing. Maybe you're thinking about building your own home or buying a new home that's a brand new build, or maybe you're thinking of buying a bigger home or a smaller home, whatever it is. Make sure that you're working with someone who cares and understands your motivation. People don't sell their home unless there's a transition in their life. Nobody wakes up one day and says, I think I'll sell my home today. That's not why people sell their homes. They sell because there's a transition going on in their life. And it could be any of the things that I just named. But the transition is really relevant to how we price your home, to how we market your home, to your timeline, to what you're going to do next. Like if you're downsizing and you have a home here in Carmichael, and maybe you want to go into a 55 and over community so you don't have to deal with all the yard work and all that, and you want the social and everything that's included in it, you are going to have a whole different motivation and a whole different mindset than if you are downsizing and you want to buy something smaller like in Midtown. It's just a whole different situation. One of the things I help my sellers do, if they want, and I love to do it, is to help them with an estate sale or a garage sale or a yard sale. Because if we're downsizing, we often have years of accumulated things. And so people say, well, can I use an estate company? Well, sure you can. And they're going to take a big hunk of it. Not only that, but estate companies often will only want to take your possessions, your items. They only want really the good stuff. So if you have some good stuff, like, that's more high end, then they'll take the whole lot of it. But some of it, doesn't sell. And then you're stuck with, do I put it in a consignment shop or do I give it to Goodwill? What do I do with it? So I help you from A to Z where that is concerned. And yes, I do have friends that are in the estate sale business, but I have been a big proponent of doing our own yard sales, garage sales, at-home estate sales, because I think that I'm able to get my sellers the most money for their possessions. So anyway, that was my spiel on making sure that if you're selling your home in the Sacramento Carmichael area, you really find a specialist who works in this area. I've lived here for 40 years and I've worked in this area for 25. So I'm really, really familiar with it. And I have, tons of clients that I've worked with in like a 2-mile radius from me, right? So you want to make sure that you're dealing with a person who really understands your transition, your neighborhood, your market, and what your next plan is. Like if an agent just comes up to you and says, oh, I'll help you sell your home, I'll get you the most money and the best time, blah, 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 blah. And they didn't even ask you, so what's next? Where are you going next? How can I help you? And why don't agents ask you that? Like, I want to know, even if you tell me, well, I'm moving to Florida because that's where my kids and my grandkids are. I'm going to be on the phone finding you the best agent in my network in Florida, in the exact town you're moving to. Because I'm not just a one and done person. And I don't care if you're in Florida and now I can't get any business from you. That's not the name of the game. This is a relationship-based business. So when you hire me, you have a friend for life, whether you like it or not. Anyway, if you're interested in talking, click the link below. I've got a free seller's handbook on the 5 costly mistakes that sellers make. I have a free how to sell your home masterclass for Sacramento home sellers. And I have a Zoom link where we can just get on a Zoom call and have a conversation to see if I'm a good fit for you and you're a good fit for me. Okay, have a great day and thanks for watching. Bye-bye for now.